welcome to another thought-provoking episode of the Deep Thinkers Society. We've got a special treat for you today. You know him, you love him. He's the man who's been sparking conversations and igniting minds across the digital landscape. Yep, you guessed it. We're thrilled to have Master of Manversations therapist James Bush in the Evolve studio today. James has been making waves with his insightful and thought-provoking posts on social media. He's changing norms and breaking barriers and starting conversations that matter. His Manversations are not just conversations. They're a movement, a revolution of thought and understanding. So buckle up and get ready for a roller coaster ride of wisdom, wit, and Manversations. Hey there. Welcome, James, to the Deep Thinker Society. We're super excited to have you on and talk today about your Manversations. How you doing?
And first and foremost, Deep Thinkers, thank you for having me on. Lori reached out to me, and I'm like, where did this person come from? But I'm glad she came. So, I've been reading some of you guys' reviews, and man, you guys have definite great conversations. I'm all here for it. I'm all here to learn as well, too. So, yeah.
You're so awesome. I think that's what it's about. Like, just no matter what direction or what you're good at or, what your expertise is just always being open to learn more,
Definitely.
Yeah. So you have this, I want to say social media, way of explaining things called Manversations. And, I was watching some of those and I was like, wow, this guy is really relatable. And the fact that you aim it at men with saying Manversations, I think is really big because at times maybe men tend to look past mental health, and mental health really is important for everybody.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to self-awareness. So I'd love if you share with us a little bit about, yourself and, how you got to be where you're at and maybe a little bit about Manversations.
Well, I'm James Bush. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Tennessee, as well as a coach in a bunch of states as well. I'm from the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia area originally, and came down to go to school at Fisk University. Always been a guy that talks to people about different things. I've been the guy that people like to dump on when they are going through various issues. So after I dropped out twice, because it takes real character to drop out of college twice, but I did it and went back though. I did go back. I set my sights on the psychological field and the clinical mental health counseling field. And since then, it's just taken off. It's been the low-hanging fruit. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy talking to men about various issues that are impacting and affecting them. And it's not just necessarily minorities or people of color or anything like that. It's all men, all creeds, all beliefs. I like to hear your stories. Because there's so much of life that has been lived outside of me that I have no idea about. And I don't want to discount not one person because I didn't grow up on the same block or in the same culture as you did. So it's one of those things where I'm a student of humans. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of just a lot of things. And I think that sometimes ignorance keeps us divided, but information keeps us together and can build and can help us to have that synergy that we're so needing in this day and age. So I'm excited. Let's Have Manversation is a nonprofit organization. We designed to motivate, educate, connect, as well as empower males from all walks of life to get through various challenges that they may be facing. One of the things that I also notice as being a therapist is that many of us guys have similar situations, similar stories, but we're not talking because we're so sheltered in our silos for whatever reason. And so I think that it's one of those things that it's like, hey, let's create a platform where guys can have these, what we call Manversations, just not in a barbershop, but from a mental health aspect or a mental health perspective as well, too. And show that, okay, guess what? What you're talking about is actually depression. And the symptoms that you meet probably about 4 of the criteria on the 6 scale that we're looking at, and giving them more information about that. I think that'd be great for them.
I absolutely
What do you think is the most common, like across the board, thing that you catch yourself redirecting men or people with, male perspective? What is the most common thing that you try to help redirect them in their thinking or their self-awareness?
One thing is that we're alone, is that they are the only one that is going through this issue. No, you're not. It's like a lot of us are going through the same thing, unfortunately, but because we don't communicate or we don't talk or we don't have those support groups, then we suffer in silence about it. Um, we're stressed out at times. We're overworked. We have many different gripes, and so what do? We medicate ourselves in unhealthy manners and unhealthy ways, and that doesn't help. It hasn't been helping
Mm-mm.
60 or some odd years ago. It's not going to help now. So what we're looking to do is to kind of pull the veil back a little bit and just say, hey, what you're doing is this. Potentially, this is why you're doing that. We're not going to blame a person. We're not going to blame a situation specifically, but this is how you came from being here to over here. We can talk about attachment styles. We're going to talk about childhood development. We can talk about brain development. We can talk about all those different things that individuals see in life, which lead them to the places that they are in currently.
Mm-hmm. Do you find your like do you find your approach an approach that you get them to open up and communicate back to you, or do you still
Oh,
feel like there's always a level of closed off?
oh, definitely. I mean, sometimes the guys that I'm looking or I'm working with, it's the first time they've ever talked about to anybody about anything. And so that's the rewarding thing, that when they keep coming back and they keep having sessions and they keep taking, they allow me to take this journey with them. And we have these discussions, or we, like I said, these manversations. I think it's so cool because now, again, I'm learning about you. I'm learning about what you're seeing and what's out there, because it's so much out there.
Did you find yourself going through your own personal therapy as you were learning and studying, and to kind of help you, relate and find a way to explain it to others?
Oh, Tim. Yeah, I have a therapist myself, Tim, and we go and we hash it out, and he empowers me and he tells me about some things that maybe you want to look at your six on this, or maybe you want to be on the lookout for something like that, or and it's a very it's a vulnerable moment that you're in, because a lot of times that's how this stuff works. If there is buy-in, then there is something that you can get from it. If there is no buy-in, I'm sorry, it's not going to work to the desire that you want to. You may can drop the seed, but the benefit of it all will not impact you as it could, because there's no intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, that's true. Um, is there a unique situation that you've had to, or an awkward one that you've had to, like, kind of work somebody through that, because I feel like all therapists on some level are empathic, and
Mm-hmm.
they kind of they feel the vibe, and it's not always about body language. Sometimes you can just genuinely feel, especially if somebody's going to a therapist, they have more than likely intense feelings. Is there anything that you've found yourself needing to talk about with them that maybe it might not even have been awkward for you, but you could feel it was really like different, and without obviously disclosing,
Oh, right, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
There was a case I had to work because I would do, sometimes I would do psychosexual assessments, and I was tasked to go visit someone who was convicted of SA, if I want to
Hmm.
say that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so I'm visiting this guy behind bars, and he's dressed in his orange Crocs and his orange drab, and I'm looking at the walls. They are high school lime colored jello and white, and I'm looking all around, and then this little old room with this door and the plexiglass, and talk about someone that potentially would need therapy. as they go in and before they leave.
Wow.
But
That,
I'm a firm
Wow.
believer that the gift kicks in after a while, and you don't even see any of that other kind of stuff, and you're able to get down to the nitty gritty of okay, why I'm here. Let's talk. Let's forget about this isn't about that you made a mistake. Okay, so you made a mistake. How did you get to making that mistake? Well, you ran your own red lights. That's how you got there. Your emotional regulation was off. You didn't have individuals to talk to kind of help,
Yeah.
get you off the ledge before you did something like that.
Right.
So that's the beauty and uniqueness of it all. And I think that we need more of that. We need less judgmental individual.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm saying what he did was cool. No, it wasn't at all. But sometimes you have to have those individuals in our society that are very compassionate and able to speak, and not just we're not overlooking what was done, but also speak to the human within that individual so that they can be changed, going forward.
well, and the fact that they were there in that situation in the first place, like something got them there. You know what I mean?
It did.
Yeah,
It
something
did.
got them there. And so clearly, they needed somebody to help untangle all those knots,
Definitely.
peel away their layers. It's pretty popular, on social media right now, attachment theories, attachment disorders, and the avoidant and the narcissist and the what's the other one?
Avoidant,
Anxious
anxiety
avoidant.
anxious avoidance, secure attachment, avoidant. Yeah,
Yes.
those type of things. Yes.
Yeah, I read up on it. I read up on it a lot. I actually learned a lot about myself through the attachment theory.
You will.
Yeah. I learned so much that,
Yeah.
I always knew that things were, because of our parents. I mean, it usually boils down to that, or you're, adult in your early childhood. But wow, did I learn a lot. Could you share with us a little bit about the different attachment theories and maybe your perspective or, guidance on people once they know what their attachment is?
Well, I'm not going to give them a psychological quiz right now, but what I will say is that you have a couple. I call it like a box. You have the secure attachment style. Well, first and foremost, your attachment style is basically, I want to say, how you relate with the world around you.
Yeah.
And so that's in general. If I could put it as simple as that, how you relate to the world around you. Sometimes when we are young, we start to develop these patterns, whether it's close knitness to the loved ones that we have, or it's very distant from those individuals or such. Who knows how it comes, but guess what? It happens. And so the main thing that I think I want anybody to get out of this is that a lot of times your attachment styles that you learn at a very young age impact many of the relationships that you have later on in life. And that's the key to all of this. Because I think sometimes some guys would say, man, James, she's crazy. Like, well, maybe she's an anxious avoidant or something like, or an anxiety based attachment style, or man, or a sister may say, man, he just doesn't want to bother me. He just doesn't give me attention. I'm like, maybe he's very avoidant. And there's a reason why he's avoidant. Maybe it's something that he's learned early on in life, and as a form of maybe not upsetting the apple cart that is within himself. Or so, and again, man, I wish I could break this down a little bit more for you, because I don't want to lose the audience in it. The main thing is that sometimes some guys, or some people I've seen, they'll say, okay, behavior. They'll say that sometimes, man, I see this person, James, and they're very needy. They're very clingy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, where did that neediness or clinginess develop from?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. Parents, and they grew up in a two-parent household. There was a lot of love and everything along those lines. But however, there were times when that child wanted their mother or their father, but they were working, or they were busy, or so there was always this longing. And as they grow older, that longing, feeling, which was with them, I guess you can call it a bedfellow, or it was with them so long, it begins to take a different form, because it's like, man, my mother, my father, they were there, but they really weren't there. And I feel abandoned at times. Now I want to make sure that I can hold on to my relationships because I'm an adult. I have something to say. I have something that I can do about that. So you go through extreme measures to satisfy that need. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, what
it's interesting what you just said, to satisfy that need, and that's it right there. It's we become comfortable with that
mhm,
hole, that need
yeah,
to fill,
yeah,
and then that's what we search for when we're old. Like, well, that hole, we want that which we're used to, what we're familiar with, even though it's
right.
not healthy for us. We didn't like it then,
No, it's
but
not healthy.
we search it out because it's familiar.
Yes, I would definitely say so. And I mean, and so now it's again, like I said, it's the the Santa's little helper that you've had all your life, and now you are utilizing that in an adult sense.
Yeah.
Now, what does that look to a romantic partner who knows nothing about that kind of thing? You know, they have no recollection, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh man, you just how about we just take a time out, chill? You know, I love you as well too, but you're doing too much." And it frustrates them. And so then that person comes off looking insecure, clingy, needy, having all these labels. And guess what? Those are the foundations of chaotic moments later on in life, in that relationship. Or you have someone who's avoidant. Because why are they avoidant? They just want to deal with, uh, they don't want to deal with disappointment to some extent. They don't want to deal with the anxiety and all the inner psychological factors that says, man, if this doesn't work, maybe I don't trust them as much as I need to. Or it's like that pit is within them as well too.
But
Because
they
that back
find don't they find things at times to, like, everything could be going well, and then the avoidant might find
they
things wrong?
will blow it all up at no notice. I was like, you're going along with it, you're thinking all this is great, and well, all of a sudden, I'm out of here. Where did you go? And you don't know why that person is left. Again, because there's a lack of mistrust. There's a lack of trust in those relationships or whatnot. That's what they've taught themselves about people. And so when you see stuff happening, whether it's in the honeymoon stage of a relationship or the formative other portions of it, and sometimes the question is, well, James, why did this happen? Go back to its attachment styles.
Well, you said it also relates to everything, not just, family, and not just intimate relationships. You said it plays out in the way we relate. So, what would be maybe a way an avoidant would maybe behave in a work atmosphere? Like, how would they self sabotage, or how would they avoid a good thing? Like, could you explain maybe how how they show up in different areas other than just intimacy?
Potentially, they're not a good team player.
Mhm.
Not a good team, not a good team
Oh
player at
yeah,
all.
I've worked with some of those before.
I'll do it myself. I'll go and handle this 4-man job all by myself. I
Mhm.
won't communicate. I don't trust you to hold up your end of the bargain and get things done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I am sometimes brutish. I am sometimes mean. I am not patient when it calls for a collective aspect of all of us working together.
Wow, yeah, you nailed that one. What about a fearful avoidant? Like, how would they show up at work? A fearful avoidant, mind you, is a little bit of both. The anxious avoidant, the
Mm-hmm.
anxious attachment and the avoidant attachment in one, and they seem to have it rougher than than just the anxious alone. The secure obviously is our goal, is to heal ourselves and be secure,
Yeah,
but to have anxious attachment and avoidant attachment as one, how would we recognize them out in the world?
they're your they're your oddball individuals because you never know which way they're coming from at any given moment. Again, and like I think that was one thing I mentioned earlier. At one moment, everything is all well, everything is cool, but then all of a sudden, that mind kicks in. I'm not supposed to trust you. I'm not. You're going to leave at some point in time. So guess what? What I'm going to do? I'm going to leave it for you. You know, I'm going to make sure. Everyone's out to get me. Let me make sure that I get my things done on my assignments and everything like that. I'm just right here and like that. If I had a blood pressure machine and I can hook it up to someone who was fearful avoidant and just watch how
Yeah.
that thing rises and the amount of anxiety they incur and stress that is, I wish it could be measured in the bloodstream. That'd be amazing.
Wow. And they also pick and choose depending on who they're relating with, which one they lean toward more. So if they're around
Mhm.
a avoidant, they might lean toward being anxious. And if they're around an anxious person, they might be the avoidant. It's like a no-win situation.
Oddballs.
Yeah.
Oddballs, but you know what? They're still people though. And it happened and it formed somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. If you were going to give advice to somebody who had no idea what we're talking about right now, what would you say to them to get them on the same track as us?
Go to counseling, seek a therapist,
Mhm.
allow to help them to work with you and point out some of these factors that do exist in each of our lives. I think sometimes we as individuals, we have this idea that I'm all right, what I'm doing is okay. But how does that translate to the relationship that you have? You know? And not just romantic, but friendship, social, leadership wise, et cetera, et cetera. How does that translate to that? If we are having problems maintaining jobs, you know, that that could be an issue. If well, I just don't like being around people. I just wish I can always work from home or like that. Okay, maybe that's your preference for a number of different reasons. Because yes, work from home there's our benefits to it, but we are social beings.
It's we have to learn to be we have to learn to be comfortable uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
sometimes we have to get outside our comfort zone in order to make those changes.
Yes.
Question I had down. How does one transcend perceived limitation?
Okay. So,
How do you transcend that?
how does one transcend the perceived
Perceived
limitations?
or perceived limitations.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to go into how we perceive it.
So, what I would say is, when you say transcend, the word that comes to mind is change.
Yeah.
And there's this these guys, I'm gonna call them theorists, but these guys, last name is Prochaska and DiClemente. They had the 5 stages of change, where there is pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. These are the stages, and these are the stages that one utilizes that helps someone to change. So in the pre-contemplation stage, there is saying that I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Everybody has a problem, except me. In the contemplation stage, is I might have an issue. I might have something going on. The preparation stage is I'm preparing to do something about these issues or these challenges that I may have. Action stage, I'm actually doing it. Maintenance is I am maintaining it. Now, the thing about it is we have stage match interventions. So, how we are transcending this, how we are changing this, is we are educating ourselves, informing ourselves. We're getting support groups around. We're getting people who are actively walking in this process. That's what helps us. When we're doing it when we are by ourselves, more than likely we are the only voice. And sometimes when you're around and you just hear your own voice, it ain't really that good. Being around other supportive individuals who are actively walking in that change or that process that you're seeing can play a huge role. So what I say is that when you want to go and do something different, be around people who are doing different. They do say birds of a feather will walk together or flock together to some extent. And there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But when you're just doing it by yourself, when you're the lone gunman, sometimes it's very hard. Because it's very hard sometimes even to stay motivated. I'll leave you with one last thing. The brain has a level of plasticity about it. And when we say mean plasticity, it is the ability to change. So the younger you are, the easier it is to change your mind about something. You don't have to have a lot of energy to do it. You just does it, because it's not fully formed yet. It's not, hard or cemented. But the older you get, the more energy you have to utilize to change your mind on certain items. That's why it's so important to link yourself up with other individuals who are doing things keep the literature, keep the information going. And I think that creates the environment for you to transcend those limitations that you have.
That was great. Very well said. Thank you.
And I'm so happy to have you, James. Dude, this is awesome, dude.
What were you going to say, Carissa?
Yeah, sure.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that Mind of a Man podcast, awesome. Manversations, amazing. Love it. Love that you are out there and that you are letting men know that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to talk about your emotions. I've been saying for years that, we need to heal our men. And our society, we're in a different day and age where we no longer come from a time where men are the sole provider, and there's so much pressure on men to be that, right? How many years ago was that pressure put on men? It's a lot. And so that's what has created this expectation of men. They have to carry the weight, of the family, of everything on their shoulders. I mean, I know there's been times when I've been under a lot of pressure, and just, it just feels like you have a cinder block on you, and so I just love the fact that you're letting men know, hey, it's cool. I got you. We got this. Like, you can talk to me. And I think there's a huge misconception that when a group of men get together, hang out, boys' night, right? They talk about their, not necessarily their feelings, but maybe things that they're going through. Maybe glaze over it, but don't really truly get into detail about what they're going through out of fear of being judged by their friends. What's my homie gonna think? He's gonna think I'm soft. I can't say this, So I think, like, we're women, we're gonna have a conversation in the girls' bathroom with 5 other women that we don't know, and we're spewing out our problems. Like, women don't have a problem being vulnerable in the women's restroom. Add a couple drinks to that too, and
Wow.
right? But those conversations take place in the women's bathroom on girls' night. So I just love that, and that you're taking that lead. One thing that I also want to mention is that there's probably an entire generation of who are now men, but boys raised by single women. I am a single mom of an adult son, and there's only so much I can teach my son as a woman, So that's also another thing too, is healing that generation of adult men, as well. So one thing that I did see, and I love this, is I wanted to ask you about For the Fathers.
Wow.
That just looked amazing. Like, yes, our fathers, like, yes, you're a man. Manversations. Are there, father stations? Is that what that is? That, that's also another role that you play as a man,
Right.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on that? It looks like an awesome gathering.
So, myself, my business partner, Dr. McNeil, along with Ty Garth and Dred Shudota, we do this annual gathering in Nashville, Tennessee. We call it For the Fathers. We believe in empowering our men as men that are fathers.
Yes.
We believe in giving them their flowers while they are here. We like to have breakout sessions and discussions on just about fatherhood and just as scenes as to empower them, for this time around the equator and next time as it goes around as well too. because a lot of guys, we just don't have those opportunities. So where do, or besides a football game, which we're not really just, talking or
Right.
anything like that. We're looking
Yeah.
at the game, but
Yeah.
where else would you get a lot of guys together so that they can be empowered, so they can laugh, so they can kick back, so they can celebrate their children? And we try to make it more of a party, like festive atmosphere. And so, I mean, that's this year is happening on June 7th and 8th in Nashville, Tennessee. We're excited about it again. And it's just going to be something great because, again, I mean, our communities need that. Men, we need to know that there are other men out there that will celebrate you as well, that your society cares for you as well, too. Because I think sometimes the message is that men, we're brutish, we are hunters, we're gatherers, we
Yes.
are protectors. That's all
Yes.
we do. And then we live these years and then we die.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But there's more to life than just working
Well,
60
then
or
you
70
die, but
years.
everything you left behind is still here. So it's important to,
Yeah.
make that impression.
Got to. So that's what that's our mission, and that's what we seek to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that too. If you could do anything, so I believe self-awareness is key. Period. The end. Self-awareness is key. So what is your angle? All my angles in life is to, give people the tools to find in themselves. But what is your angle of self-awareness?
Well, Laura, you took my answer. I mean, I truly, oh gosh, it's something. So I'm not a couples therapist. I don't market myself as that. I'm an individual therapist that works sometimes with couples. But I work from a state that helping individuals to become the best version of them possible.
Love it.
I try to go and give them tools, which is one, empathy for yourself. What did you see as you were growing up as a child? Your development. What did you learn? How did you think that through a child's eyes, doing that as an adult was going to work? Because we all go through different and I call it, we all try to fill in the blanks ourselves with a childlike understanding.
Yeah.
What we find is when we get to become an adult, it didn't work. We found it out very quickly. But giving them different tools, giving them different strategies, taking that deep dive and helping them understand their journey, and that it's okay. Guess what? Let's go and live out loud. Whatever it is that you have an idea to do, let's try it. Let's see if it works. So let's process it. Okay, maybe it didn't work. So let's find out, why didn't it work? Let's become more emotionally intelligent, self-aware. Who you are. What settings did you like to find yourself in? What type of individuals do you like to find yourself around? Oh, by the way, let's teach you how to read the room and read the emotions of other people when they come into your presence, and what does all that look like? So that
reading the room is big.
Oh, it's very big,
Yeah.
And so, so helping people to know that, okay, we can connect with you, because it's one thing to be so self-aware, but if you can't connect with your fellow man in some sense, then that's going to be an issue or a problem to some extent.
Yep.
So teaching them these skills about empathy, about what it is, empathy, the difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is like, I'm on top of this hole looking at you in there, like I feel sorry for you. Empathy is like, man, we're in the same damn hole.
We're in the same hole together. Yeah.
How are we going to get out of this thing?
Yeah.
So giving them those tools and understanding and helping them to say, it is okay for you to be you. You don't have to be a carbon copy of other individuals.
What you do, and this is why I was so happy to have you on and what I picked up from you, people don't go to therapists because it's such a serious atmosphere and they already feel intense feelings, and then they go into a room with another human and then it gets serious all over again. But really, like, if that's why girls often talk with their girlfriends, because it's relatable. It creates an atmosphere of safety,
Right.
Not all the time. You do get those hypercritical girls. Don't get me wrong. But your approach is inviting. It's safe. And I think that in order for a person to be vulnerable and start to look at their own dark shadow, they have to be comfortable letting somebody into that space with them before they get into that space themselves. Some people just cannot look themselves in the mirror. But if they can look into somebody else's eyes and see that that person can look into them, and feel comfortable with that, then they might start tiptoeing in too. You know what I'm saying? So that
You're right.
inviting, let me hold your hand.
I, like many men, I don't know about you, Maddie, but we played pee-wee sports at one time in life, whether it was baseball, whether it was football, whether it was basketball or something. We played on some type, and there was an expectation in that team atmosphere. And so you either got chasing or you got ribbed because maybe you didn't perform and whatnot. So I know the masculine hypercritical aspect of, competition and everything along those lines. What I had to learn for myself is that you can't be that with everybody.
Yeah.
That doesn't translate to relationships very well. You mess around and you run people off like that. Because Carissa, you will. And so you may be the individual who puts in the 12 or 14-hour days and you are clicking on all cylinders, man. You're doing your thing. You're producing a lot. But what about the folks who don't have those giftings in those areas that run with you? Are you going to run them off? Are you going to rib them? These are humans. This isn't a game. I mean, I know sometimes we like to say the game of life, but in all essence, man, people are doing the best they can.
Yeah.
For what they have a lot of times. They come from just very upsetting and very disturbing situations a lot of times. And they're doing the best that they can actually do. So with that being said, I can't go and poke the bear or poke them, get up there and do this. No, that runs people away. I had to learn that. And so I can speak to both sides of the coin when it comes to those conversations.
So just creating a place where, as you get to know them, creating a space, so to speak, where you could match their vibe a little bit and like pick up on what makes them comfortable.
Match their vibe, make them feel safe, make it feel relatable, and just say, and just translate that message to them, just saying, look, I get it. I understand where you're going. I know why you want to get there, but this is the challenge that you may run into. And I think that point, that's when the light bulb goes off. There's an African proverb that says, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, take someone with you. And so we need others to come with us on this journey called life. None of us can do it alone.
No,
and with that being said, you have to learn how to talk to people. It's one of the biggest things I've learned.
If there are therapists listening out there, and if you were to give any of them like your advice, what would you say? To encourage more people to feel comfortable going to therapists, because I know I don't feel comfortable talking to just anybody. I do talk a lot. Don't get me wrong. I talk, but I don't feel comfortable like being vulnerable around just anybody. So, if you were to speak widely to mental health professionals out there, what would you say to them to help them make people, when they meet them, maybe want to stay and talk a little while, at least give them a chance?
I would say just do your best to create an inviting and welcoming atmosphere. Ask yourself, how would I like to go and talk to somebody? What would I want that to look like? And just being self-reflective, sometimes every client isn't the same. So some clients, they come in, they've just had about a knockdown, drag out fight with their spouse at some point, and they're looking for a soft space to land at that point. Are you presenting that soft space for them to land? Some clients that you talk to, they're in the garage sitting in their car because they want some privacy, because when they get out of the car and they go in the house, all hell is about to break loose. And they need right now these 45 minutes to an hour to decompress, to debrief, to laugh, to just get some things off their chest. Are you going to be that individual for them that gives them that opportunity, but also, man, potentially provide some hope for them? that as they have to endure going back into that setting. You know, ask yourself those questions. You know, because our clients, they come from so many different factors. Some of them just got out of a 2 hour long traffic jam just to get
Oh
to come see
gosh.
you. You know what they're really wanting at that point in time? Maybe to talk with you and maybe a stiff one, drink that is. But I mean, my point is that let's make sure that, man, we are creating those atmospheres, those environments, so that the rapport can be built, and so that the insight, man, can begin to drop.
That's beautifully said. Um, I talk about spirituality on here a lot, and Carissa and Matt, we all have that, we have some of the same views, and we all, are open with each other's views. I'm
Mhm.
curious, how does spirituality, in whatever form it is for you, influence your relationships and your interactions maybe with others?
One thing I say is that once I find out an individual what their preferred choice of spirituality potentially is, or so, I like to work with them in that aspect of it. You know, I like to learn from them. They teach me about some of the aspects of items and some of the I don't want to say the articles of it, but I guess you can say the articles of this idea. And I was like, okay, cool. So then where I come into the play is that now I go and I try to make it more relatable. Remember that what you told me about over there? That's what something that is happening in this situation, or that's something that we can aspire to and find ways to practice. So maybe here's 3 bullet points, or maybe here's 5 steps that we can utilize to get there. You know, meeting your client where they're at, speaking their language, I think is so powerful. You know, I mean, who would want to go and um, to someone who was he would be an English speaking. No. He's an English speaking client, but the therapist only spoke Punjabi. You know,
Yeah, there might be some conflict there.
it's gonna be some conflict, gonna be some
Yeah,
frustration.
there's going to be a communication barrier for sure.
But you know what? The funny thing is that even when sometimes people speak the same language, there's still a communication
There's
barrier
absolutely,
because we're
absolutely.
not relatable. You know, we're not actually, meeting that client where they are based on their ideals. You know.
Totally.
Very true.
Well, let's do something fun real quick. Before my dog starts barking in the background. Um, let's each, I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. But I would like to know your personal, and this could make you vulnerable. I'm not quite sure, depending
Mhm.
on how personable you're. I want to know what your own personal favorite quote is. Like,
Mhm.
something you always say in your head, or something that you give advice to others, or, that quote or that go-to thing that you say often, and why that's your go-to. So I guess I'll start, and maybe it'll trigger some of your thoughts.
Mhm.
For me, I went through a lot of healing over the last few years, and I got the intuitive message, which was, Lori, you need to learn to be comfortable, uncomfortable. And for me, that's big because I'm always trying to find out what's wrong with me, and always trying to find out, well, how do I fix this so I feel better, or make other people feel comfortable, or make other people feel better, when in turn I'm really trying to make me feel better because I'm so empathic. I can feel their pain. So I've been practicing being comfortable when things don't feel good. And it's
Mhm.
really hard. But
Mhm.
it's good advice. And so I feel like when people come to me as a healer and a reader and an astrologer and a friend, that I try to give that advice, that sometimes we don't need to fix things. Sometimes we just need to feel it, move through it. And then once we felt it and moved through it, we need to just let that go so that we could shift and have something positive take its place.
Mhm.
And that's
Nice.
my go-to quote. Does anybody want to go next?
All right, Nikola Tesla, Secrets of the Universe. It's one of my favorite quotes. First thing that came to me. I have many quotes. Daniel Brinkley has a good quote, but so if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, Think in terms of what? Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
And why is that your quote, Matt? Share with us why,
Because I
how
feel
you.
energy, frequency, and vibration on a daily basis. But I will stop there. I will stop it there. Yeah, really. I mean, vibration is, and frequency and energy is what the universe is made of.
Yeah, he's amazing. Nikola Tesla, his concepts and theories they seem scientific based, but I mean, he was born in a lightning storm, for crying out loud. That man is amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I love him and Daniel Brinkley, because Daniel Brinkley was reborn during a lightning storm.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Daniel Brinkley died from lightning.
That's crazy.
But it was just, I just said his name before that. But,
light can kill you, and light can bring you to life. And, I mean, Frankenstein, I mean, look at him. He came to life, What about you, James? What's your go-to quote?
Mine's is by His Airness Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And he says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
Wow.
That's
awesome. I love that.
Just never give up.
Because never give up.
Never.
You use some of your experiences in life.
Nope.
You don't let them defeat you. You don't let them saddle you. Nope. You get up and you keep going. And every day that you got breath in your body, give your best.
It's so okay to make mistakes.
It's okay.
We have too many people that think they have to be perfectionists. You don't.
Exactly. So, yeah, I love that quote.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What about yourself, Carissa? What's yours?
Kind of almost kind of what James just shared. And this is just something that I've just always had with me. I don't recall if it's from one particular person, but slow progress is still progress. Don't give up. Even if it's, you don't have to take over the world in one day.
Right.
Slow progress is still progress as long as you're moving forward and you're not moving backwards. Yep. And I feel like that's just always just kind of been my mantra, especially in my career. Move forward, even if it's a little bit at a time, right? Just the faith of a mustard. What is it? The faith of a mustard seed with the mustard seed. Gosh, you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As long as you have a little bit of faith, it'll just keep moving you forward. Have faith, have hope. And if it's a little bit of at a time, so be it. You're still moving forward. Look at an inchworm and how it moves, an inch at a time. So, yeah.
I gotta slow down. I'm a fire sign. Everything I do, and it's always full of passion and just
it's a Leo. Speaking of signs, James, what sign are you?
Wait. Don't say. I want to guess because I've been trying to read it the whole time.
Gemini.
Because I would love to hear
this. I like this for this. We should do this. We should do a guess the guess sign. I like it.
Not cheating. Yeah.
I'm wondering. I'm feeling Cancer in there.
Wow.
What? What'd you say, Laura?
No.
What'd you say,
Laura? Cancer, and I was thinking the other one. If you tell me you're a Virgo, though, you can't come on the show again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, tell us.
I'm a Virgo.
Oh, no, I'm teasing. The only reason I say that is because we ended on perfectionism and how, and so that's Virgo's biggest one is that you don't have to be perfect.
But his rising
makes sense with your quote.
His rising's got to be Gemini. Your rising Gemini.
It might be.
So here's the funny thing, Maddie, that you said when you said Gemini the first time. I was like, and I heard it, I say, well, I've dated a lot of Geminis.
Yeah, there could be a reason for that. Geminis are typical avoidance. And Virgos are perfectionists, so they could either be avoidant or an anxious attachment or a little bit of both, but they're overthinkers through and through.
Yep.
Yeah. And they like to be perfect. So I love that quote is your quote because it fits you and it helps you better yourself and know that you're okay. There's a whole Japanese, I wish I could remember off the top of my head because I have the book and I have it right next to my bedstand. There's a whole concept on not being perfect. Yeah. And it's a way of life and they study it. And we learn more when we're not perfect. We make more mistakes, we learn more, and it makes us better people. So if we could learn to just let go and be vulnerable, which has been our whole topic today, we would get more out of it. We're okay just the way we are.
I think the piggyback on that, Lori, as well too, is that allowing yourself, man, to make mistakes. When you do that, also too, you allow others around you to make mistakes as well. Yeah. And so ultimately, the grace that you show yourself, you'll show to other individuals.
Yeah, I have no right to put somebody else down for their idiosyncrasies or their character flaws or their lack of knowledge. When I don't know everything, I'm far from perfect. And, as long as we have the common thread of caring and respecting each other, I think that's the most important thing,
Right. The end goal is not to be perfect, but to show up as the best healed version of yourself.
Yeah.
That's my end goal, is to show up as the best person that I could be, the best healed person in this lifetime. I know I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. I don't want to be that, but I want to be my absolute best version.
Or at least aim that direction. Like, you might not even be it. You might not even have fully embodied it. But if you're walking in the direction of your best self, working toward your best self, which a lot of times isn't forward. A lot of times finding your best self is inward,
Yeah.
I agree with you. With you all. James, you're freaking awesome. I hope we have you on again. Yeah, I really enjoyed you.
You guys are cool.
Is there anything you want to, ask us, or anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet before we close it out?
Okay. So there was one question that I wanted to ask you three. It's that you guys are such deep thinkers, but do you ever get somewhat irritated when the conversation is just so surface level? There's just, man, we just stay on the top layer of the discussion. There's no depth. There's nothing to be gained from it. It's just easily the low-hanging fruit, and you know that there's so much to be gained from it because, it's one of those things of, well, have we taken it into context? No, we haven't taken it into context. So how do we get from point A to point B without taking it into context of the situation? I mean, or what time frame is it? I mean, go ahead, Lori.
Well, me. I know what you're talking about. So I have a funny story about that and how I discovered I deal with that, because I didn't know this about myself until somebody else showed me.
Okay.
But a really uncomfortable situation happened years ago, and I was put in a situation where I was with my friend's husband at the time, and we had to go we had to alleviate the situation, and we never really were just the two of us chatting. There was always other people around, and so there could have been awkward silence, there could have been only superficial conversation, and so I started talking and I started asking him about himself, and I started digging below the layers, and conversation never paused. And a couple weeks later, when the tension from the whole situation alleviated, my friend, whose husband I was in the car with, said to me, he said something interesting that I thought I would share with you, and he's like, I never really realized that, Lori knows how to, not have awkward silence. Like, she realized that if there's nothing to say, and ask somebody about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, but I realized, and here's the therapist in you, I realized how I took that was, I don't like things that are uncomfortable. So that was uncomfortable. That whole situation was uncomfortable, and I didn't want to feel any more uncomfortable. So I'm going to take the light off of how I feel, and I'm going to turn it on to somebody else, and I'm just going to let them talk about themselves. And I did that instead. It was my survival mechanism in a stressful situation, so I wasn't feeling any more of other people's stuff. Right?
Wow.
So when it gets, like you said, that flat line in conversation with people, I don't get irritated. I just, sometimes I'll adapt to the situation and I will just talk about what they want to talk about. But I always catch myself asking questions that, they aren't answering. And so when I do, what I notice about people is the ones that don't know themselves very well will answer, I don't know, or I'm not quite sure, or they won't. And then that just tells me that as a friend or as a coworker, especially, coworkers, when you have that surface level, that maybe, number one, they don't know how to feel vulnerable around people, and I'll keep the safe atmosphere anyways, because maybe someday they'll know that I'm open to conversation and they feel safe with me. Or two, I find ways to do what our podcast was originally going to be named, which was planting seeds. I plant seeds, and I kind of, plant seeds for self-awareness. Oh, well, have you ever considered this? Or, I was reading once about this, or I believe that, or I give them a quote or something to just plant the seed and then leave it, but as far as getting irritated, no. But I'll be honest with you, like, I don't want to just talk about the weather. I don't want to just talk about politics. I hate politics, but I would love to hear about your favorite color and why, because I believe that purple means you're very intuitive. And, I want to know what your numerology is, because that must mean that, so that's why I'm passionate about astrology, because when I meet people, I'm always trying to wonder, where it is they fall so that I can get to know them better, because people are not transparent, and I want to know you. Like, knowing somebody and connecting with them through conversation is intimacy. And there are people in this world that are scared of that type of intimacy. Oh, I can't show you who I am. There's people that don't want to give their birth information, because you will be able to see into the seat of their soul. You really can see a person. But it doesn't mean that that's necessarily who you are. Those are just stereotypes, Right. But I want to know who you are, and so I use that as an avenue or a catalyst to open the door and have good conversation and get to know. And so, people mistake intimacy for touching or sexuality or, hugging or spooning or whatever, S&M, whatever these things are, people think intimacy is. Intimacy is what we just did today. Intimacy was us four sitting here, being vulnerable, talking about things that people don't always feel comfortable talking about, which is mental health and what we need to do to look into our soul. And that's true intimacy.
Right.
What about you? Do you like deeper conversations?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes the surface stuff is just so boring. It's like,
do you get irritated?
I do. Yeah.
So what do you do to take away, to change it to be a little more, or do you just kind of let them be who they are and not dig?
I've at times I've let people be who they are, but I've found that I have a group of individuals who I can go and be that person with them, where we can go and we can argue back and forth, and not necessarily argue as in conflict, but we just go at it. And I learn from them, because that's the thing. I like to learn, and I like to hear about people's experiences, especially when it comes to all different walks of life, no matter what the topic. Even if it is sexuality to some extent, I'm like, okay, well, how did that make you feel? How did they get from that point to where did they learn that from? Or why did they choose that instead of that over there? Those things are questions that I have. I guess you could say I'm somewhat inquisitive in those moments. And so for myself, I know that that's something I need. If I don't have it, I'm an unhappy camper. To some extent. So
like your partners, you choose they need to be able to hold conversation with you.
Yeah. Now, granted, this is something for look. This is something I guess we would talk about off wax or whatever have not. But and I was talking to somebody about this today. I said, for some of the guys that I come into contact with, some of them they talk to other women more than they talk to their own wives. And I pondered that for a minute. I was like, why is that or anything like that? And then I started to say to myself, that could be a little dangerous.
It could be, but you know what? Osho said something one time.
Okay.
I read it in a book, and it was the biggest eye opener I'd ever really had. And he was talking about how if you're so attached to another person that if somebody else has love for the person that you love, like, why would you deny them love? And if they were to touch that person's hand and show them true love, it doesn't mean that they can't or don't love you. It's about understanding that love is not. It was the way I grasped people. No, that's the wrong. Like, how people have many wives throughout history, right?
Right.
At first I had thought that maybe was where he was going with it because of his culture,
Right.
but really that wasn't where he was going with it. But like, there are people who have multiple wives and they love or marry, right?
Mhm.
But who am I to say that they don't all love each other? And why do you have to only love one human? And why can't there be a house? I'm not saying I want to live this way, don't get me wrong. But why can't there be a home with 3 adults, right? No. Why can't there be a home with 5 adults? Maybe there's 2 men and 3 women. And they're all unique, just like us sitting here in this podcast today, right? And they all have their own, and maybe I could talk to Sally and have really good conversation with her, and I love her and our connection that way. But when Fred walks in the room, Fred makes me feel comfortable, and I don't even need to talk to him. I just want to be in the room and sit next to him, and I love him for that. Why can't we have a community where we all just love each other? Why do we have to have a community where there's a husband and a wife and they need to have sex to be intimate and to make children and to be happy? Why does that have to be the way it is? Why can't it be a dog, a cat, an old lady, a younger man, a middle-aged, other culture person that all love each other for whatever reason, and that be okay? They love each other.
You're right.
They love each other. They don't need to procreate. They know that when they go shopping together, they enjoy each other's company. They know when they go to the amusement park, they enjoy each other's company. They know that when they sit and watch TV, they don't have to do anything. They just enjoy each other's company and they love each other. But there are people in the world that look at it like it's wrong, that they love each other. And so therefore it's not okay. That's not fair. Who am I to say? It's love. Love is love, and it doesn't really matter, how it shows up.
You're spot on. You're spot on about that. And what you've done is you've introduced other schools of thought into this thing of everyday life. But sometimes when we are conditioned to a certain way of life, unfortunately, we miss out on the other varieties that are available to us. And that right there, it creates sometimes those longing, unmet needs that fester within us all at some point. Because the thing is that as you begin to learn more about who you are, it's like you start to identify. It's like, I need this. Just like a person needs water, breathe, or they love to laugh. I haven't laughed in a while. I need to find something to go to laugh at. I need to find some type of excitement. I mean, I need to do something in that area. And when we take these stereotypes or these tropes, right, and we try to put them on like shoes that are 2 sizes or 3 sizes too small for us, it hurts. It hurts. So I guess one of the biggest things that I'm an advocate of is, one, find out who you are and find your community, whoever they are. Be open to that. They may look different. Downstairs, I have a bunch of plants. So some people call me a plant dad. I like vegetables. I'm going to buy some more plants. And it's probably going to be like a safari forest in my house after a while. But you know what? I don't care. You know,
Yeah, I have tons too. I get it.
I like plants. I'm learning how to take care of them. Some of them I take care of better than others. But, you know, I will go spend money on a class just to learn how to better care for plants. You know, so that's me. That's who I am. Others have to go and take that same journey, you know, and be okay.
Yeah, you have to figure out who you are. Like, you can't base who you are by who you've always been around. Like, sometimes you really do just have to stray away from the pack to discover things that, you know, to tune everything else out to see what it is you like. And while you're out there discovering what it is you like, then you start looking for people who like it too. And why can't you have a foot in multiple doors? Why can't you? I mean, because growing up, you know, remember the Breakfast Club? Remember the Breakfast? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always had a writer's mind, and I used to love that all those different kids were forced to be together and get to know each other, even though they didn't want to be there, and realize that they all actually liked each other. But would that have happened in any other situation? You see what I'm saying? But what if we were put outside of our comfort zone? What if we chose to put ourselves outside of the comfort zone more often and realized, wow, I like this, and allowed yourself to like something, you know, that you never thought you would like? Man, wouldn't your life be freaking colorful?
I would think so.
Wouldn't you have had the option? And even if you decided that you didn't really 100% want to do it all the time, you experienced it.
Oh, yeah.
You expanded your brain. You rewired your brain to challenge yourself to do something new. I mean, that's big to me. People that choose self-awareness, that choose to not, like, who aren't scared to live in the same city their entire life, and who, you know, get out there and look at the world just in case, you know, who you might still live in your same city, but get out there. Be like, go look, you know, you love reading books about New York. Well, then take a trip to New York and see if you really like it or if you just like the stories.
That's it. That's it. You can't easily talk about your. I mean, you guys. I mean, you guys have done so many of these episodes, and you've had so many different guests. What's the one big takeaway that you walk away from doing this type of work or doing these shows? I mean, what's the big, just like glaring neon light sign in Times Square for deep thinkers when it comes to this type of work? It's like, I'm meeting all these people, we're having all these conversations.
For me, it's the fact that we're creating connectedness, or as Carissa and I have collaborated, like, we're creating community through conversation. Like, we're community doesn't mean everybody is a clique or the same way or the same style or in the same area. Community is people that come together with the commonality of wanting to connect. Even if we don't always agree, we want to connect. We know that that's important. And with deep thinking, that just means that we're not going to sit here and talk about the weather all day. And, you know, you're going to tell me you have a headache, and I'm going to be like, really? Did you drink any water today? You know, have you, you know, are you taking new vitamins? Oh, really? I take this vitamin, and this is what works for me. And I went to this naturopathic doctor. And what do you think about naturopathic? Or do you feel like you have to go to a Western medicine, you know, and like digging below the layers and getting to know a person through normal conversation, but through ones that will bring us towards self-awareness. So, like, we have you on as a therapist, you know, in the South, you know, who talk to men, and you're open and you're accepting, and you break all the molds on any stereotypes or misconceptions. I adore your energy, and I adore you. And I wanted to bring you on and show the world that there is a human out there taking steps towards letting men speak out, letting men be vulnerable, letting men grow, letting men have self-awareness. I needed that. Not only men, but African-American men from the South. Like, I live in Arizona. I'm from the Bay Area, California. I'm from a very diverse community. But I moved to Arizona, and we need more of your energy here. We really do. And so on that note, just reaching out and having conversations with people from all different avenues that could give it insight of their perspective of the universe and what they do towards self-awareness or what they do to make the world a better place, and just have conversation about it. That's my takeaway.
Okay.
I know that Carissa and Matthew both have, big takeaways too. I would love to hear it.
For me personally, it's seeing other perspectives. Maybe there's something out there that I didn't think of. Also, myself in my healing journey, it makes me feel seen and heard. That when we have a guest on the pod, and they went through the same thing I experienced. Like, I don't feel so alone in my experiences, because sometimes we tend to feel that way. Like, sometimes we feel like it's just us, the stuff that we have to unpack. We're the only ones going through this, when in fact, no, there's somebody else. There's another human being who has experienced what I have. They get it. They understand. This is what you did to cope. Oh, this is what you did to work through that. I love that. Maybe I might need that tool next time. So I feel like it's just, once again, growing community through conversation. I am a people person, and I never used to be. Lori can attest to this. I could go somewhere by myself, and by the end of the night, I'm making friends. That's just anywhere. And I've never really considered myself to be a friendly person, but I've always been fascinated with other people from other parts of this country, from other parts of the world. I really am a people person. So I love getting to meet new people, and hearing, what they have to contribute to the conversation. What are they contributing to the world? What drives you? What's your passion? Love getting down to, like, picking their brain. And so on top of, enriching my perspectives, but also tell me about you. Let's connect. What drives you? So it's just a lot of different things. But just meeting new people and connecting with new people, and just chopping it up. Yeah.
With conversation, you never know what's going to be said. Like, conversation will trigger something in your brain and something different in your brain and something different in your brain. Right. And then we all have this, like, my favorite thing in the world is brainstorming. Like, let's put a topic on the board. Let's pull a card out of the hat, and let's brainstorm about that, because everybody triggers something different in somebody else. And then it's this big explosion of, like, information. And, like, you have, like, at the end of every episode we've had so far, every one of them, we always were like, wow, that was such a good episode.
Good. Yeah. And I walk away feeling so good. And, like, I mean, that dopamine is just, it's just so good. Just, that was a good pod. That was a good conversation. Wow. I didn't think about that perspective, or, that feels, really good. Like, yeah, I love it. And like you said, the brainstorming thing, like, for a career, I'm a project analyst. So that's why I like to analyze and all that, and what motivates you. But no, it's just, it's amazing. Like, and it's, we're home. I'm in my office. I don't have to go to the bar or the restaurant to have a good conversation.
Right.
What's your takeaway, Matt?
I'm just here for my weekly therapy.
I love that. I love that. I love that you put up with some of the things that I feel like I tease you so much. I love you to death. I just tease you, because you let me, and I really do it. I think to let you know that whoever it is you are, we love that person, and keep coming every Wednesday, Matt.
Dedicated to it.
All right. Well, James, this has been awesome. Is there anything you want to say as we close out?
Check out our website, weforthefathers.com, weforthefathers.com. There's more exciting information about our For the Fathers weekend. I know some people can't be there, but definitely we'll have enough pictures on there to show for the wonderful things that we're doing. Also, check us out on social media. You can check me out on official James Bush on Instagram, as well as the Mind of a Man podcast as well on Instagram. I'm sorry, on Instagram as well as Facebook. Let's have Manversation. All different types of information. Manversation mailbag. I love doing those where basically I take a letter from somebody anonymously and I just break it down and dissect it. So those are fun as well too. We have a lot of stuff on content that's on YouTube. Check us out. And man, drop us a line.
Thank you so much. If you want to send me an email with all those links, I'll put them in the show notes so that people can find you and get to see you what we've gotten to see you so far. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.